And welcome to another edition of the WyoNation Roundup. I am Chad Smith, and as always, I am joined by Mr. Brad Reed. How you doing tonight, Brad?
Oh, doing all right. I really enjoy your new intro you have on this thing. That's far less intrusive.
Thank you.
You did a good job on it.
Thank you. Yes. It's very Wyoming, if you noticed.
I did.
Well, I think we hit everything in there is something from Wyoming. And yeah, a
You
nice
forgot
new
the fast
intro.
sugar beet fields across Portland down there.
Mm-hmm. A new intro for a kind of a new season as we reset here. We are in the dog days of summer, but we are counting down to Wyoming football, Brad. And I have my countdown here. Let's take a look. We are just 73 days and 6 hours away from August 31st, which is going to be the kickoff for this football season for your Wyoming Cowboys, as they will open the season down in Tempe, Arizona, to take on the Big 12 Arizona State Sun Devils.
If we're in the dog days this summer, I would like to know where that's at because this is not the dog days of summer.
That's true. Well, you're up in north of the wall there, up in
Yeah,
Montana.
yeah, that is cold up here. Uh, which will be completely different when the Cowboys go to Tempe there at the end of August. I, I think I was listening to Ryan Thorburn's podcast maybe, and they were talking about the possibility of the field temperature being like 115 degrees for that game. I don't know how well that'll go for a bunch of kids from Laramie that have been practicing in maybe 80s temps all summer long, and then have to go to Tempe and just get absolutely cooked out there. That'll that'll be their own little home field advantage, I guess, because I don't suspect the Sun Devils will be much all that great next year. But yeah,
We'll
that
see.
certainly something to keep an eye on.
We'll see. And believe it or not, and most of you will believe it, right? Because there's too many degenerate gamblers out there. But lines have already been out for weeks for this sucker. And as we speak today, Wyoming is just +7 at Arizona State. So Vegas is expecting a very competitive game there as we kick off 10:30 at night. So move over Pac-12 after dark. It will be Big 12 after dark.
I wonder who gets the title of After Dark this year with the Pac-12 going.
I don't know.
Is it going to be the Mountain West?
It could be.
Is it going to be the Big Sky? We don't know.
Yeah. Well, the Mountain West is now the premier Western Football Conference because it's the only one.
It is the only one.
Yeah. Well, I guess I don't know. Do you count the WAC? Is the WAC still playing football? Are they playing 1AA football or FCS football? What are they doing these days?
They went through their own little reorg here.
Yeah.
This spring, and I think some
teams left. I think you're right.
Yeah, but they weren't playing under the WAC banner. They were playing under like the United Athletic Conference or something like that.
Okay.
And like there were some teams from that were originally in the Southland Conference that peeled off and went back. They were part of that UAC and went back to the Southland, and it became like effective like immediately, basically.
I got you.
Yeah, and it's very weird, but
I should mention, if you are viewing this right now, welcome aboard as we do this live, of course. There will be a replay on the YouTubes after it gets uploaded. But if you go to youtube.com/@WyoNation, you can participate live. That's where there'll be a chat box. You can type in your comment, and we will see them here live on screen. So if you have questions, comments, head on over to our YouTube channel @WyoNation on YouTube. So let me
tap the subscribe button while you're there too.
Yes, do that, and so you get alerts. We're going to try to get a regular schedule, but it's summer. Everybody's busy. We're busy. But let's share our screen here, Brad, and we'll get the schedule up. It always does this to me. There we go. It makes you that you're very well not assured, very well know that you're sharing your screen, and it could be very dangerous.
Yeah, you run that risk at work all the time too.
Here we go. So I've got some notes. We'll just run through this really quickly. So we already talked about Arizona State. That is going to be national TV yet again. So Wyoming will be opening the season yet again with a night game on national television, as they did last year. They will follow that up with a home game against Idaho, which is TBA. TV and time, you would imagine that'd be your traditional noon or 1 p.m. kickoff. More than
Yeah.
likely a Mountain West network game on the interwebs.
Mhm.
Then this, I didn't realize this. I don't know if this was in the initial announcement. I don't think it was. Maybe it was. You can correct me if I'm wrong, but BYU makes the return to Laramie. Another night game in Laramie, also on CBS Sports. Take note of that. That will be a theme. Then we have North Texas on the road. TBA for time and TV. I don't know. Are they Conference USA these days?
Man,
Sunbelt? One of
I
those
have
two. Look that up really quick. But this game screams to me, since it's a road game, screams to me an ESPN Plus game.
Yeah.
Would be my guess for this one. Probably a day game on ESPN Plus.
Yeah, they're Conference USA, so
Okay. Yeah, so I'm thinking ESPN for this game if I had to guess.
ESPN.
Then Mountain West play kicks off, and again, take note. CBS Sports, another night game against Air Force in Laramie. Then Wyoming will play another home game, this time an afternoon kickoff against San Diego State at home, also on CBS Sports. San Jose State will be your next one in mid-October there. TBA, again, that might get picked up by someone. But
smells
yeah,
like a Mountain West network game.
that's an online game for sure. Yep.
ESPN Plus might take pity on us, but I doubt it.
Maybe. Yeah, I don't know if we even have a deal with ESPN this year. I have to look that up. Then another night game in Laramie against Utah State on CBS. Next week will be New Mexico on the road. TBA. Again, that sounds like that could be picked up by someone if New Mexico's any good. I wouldn't expect that to be the case. But probably another online game. Then here's the big one everybody circles. Another night game, this time on the road in Fort Collins, CBS Sports. But do note, we are talking about a Friday night game, another Friday night game. We'll talk more about that later. Hey, our friend and pal Brian is in the chat, and I didn't see this, but he says the Mean Green are in Conference USA. Sorry, I just saw that. Brad beat you to it, but you are also correct. So thank you, Brian.
It's like Jeopardy on here.
It is. And then Wyoming. So this is kind of tough, right? You got your arch rival, and then you got to follow up the next week against the best team in the conference historically, Boise State at home. Another night game on CBS Sports. And then Wyoming will close the season at Pullman, Washington, which is up in your neck of the woods. Are you thinking about maybe heading that one?
Yeah, it's a good chance I'll be in Poland for that game.
All right. 4:30 kickoff on the CW, which is interesting because I think, well, actually, wasn't the Arizona Bowl on the CW like last year or the year before? I think it was.
Online. The CW, that's where they relegated like Live Golf to.
Sure. So Wyoming will be playing, and if you're running Whites on the CW, that is the TV provider for the Pac-2 now, Oregon State and Washington State. So if you're an Oregon State and Washington State fan, you're going to be watching a lot of CW this year because they're pretty much covering all their games. Yeah, so let's just hit some things. Do you talk about some of this, or do you want me to hit you with a breakdown of game times and TV channels?
Well, there's a lot of night games, and I personally love night games. I think night games are fun as hell.
Yeah,
it's a full day of tailgating with the boys, and
you
get to watch football at the end of the day. That sounds awesome. That being said, I have heard some chatter, read some chatter from the Wyoming fan base that don't seem all that pleased about night games because apparently hotels or whatnot don't exist.
Sure.
Uh, so I've seen where people are not happy about having this many night games, and it's, do I buy season tickets for all these night games and blah blah blah, and I don't know.
Sure.
Living up here where people are pretty crazy about football, people love night games, and the stadium is just as full for night games as they are for day games, and people love them.
Yeah.
I don't know why that excitement does not exist in Laramie.
Well, I think maybe you're listening to the silent majority who head on over to WyoNation.com on the message boards and get their frustrations out because they got nowhere else to go. There and Twitter, I guess, right?
That's pretty much the only things I read. So
Yeah. So I think you're probably, and I understand that, right? I mean, hotel rooms in Laramie are hard to come by, but we had a lot of night games last year, and the stadiums we had our highest attended season ever, I think, last year. And I would expect more of the same as long as we're competitive. But yeah, I kind of broke this down. So Wyoming will have a total of, as of right now, it'll be 8 games on national television. If you count CBS Sports as national, I'd say like anything on like major cable, right? I kind of count as national. Most people have CBS Sports.
I definitely get
So
that on Hulu. So
yeah, so we're talking 6. So half of our games are on CBS Sports. I will tell you, CBS Sports, after what happened last season, the ratings they got, the crowds they saw in Laramie, the energy, I think the fans have a lot to do with this schedule because CBS Sports knows that people across the country are going to tune in to see what's happening in Laramie. You got, late in the season, you got, it's snow. Wyoming fans last year really broke onto the stage with the help of Big Game Boomer, of all people, who named Laramie one of the top student sections, and that kind of picked up steam throughout the season.
That guy. Yeah,
You're shocked that I mentioned his name. You're shaking your
that
head.
guy. I love his lists because they make people so angry.
All right, let's kill this screen share because there's really nothing we're seeing here.
Yeah, I mean, ASU will be what it'll be. It'll be a tough game. It's on the road against. I don't think ASU's been great lately, but they're still going to be a very talented team, very good skill players.
Yeah, they took in a lot of transfers in the portal.
Yep.
So we'll see where they go. Again, so right now, as of today, we got 6 games on CBS Sports, 1 on FS1 to open the season, 1 on CW to close the season. We have 4 games that have not been announced yet. That includes Idaho, North Texas, San Jose State, and New Mexico. For a breakdown of time, we got 6 night games and 2-day games so far, with 4 to be determined. But 4 of those 6 night games are at home, which I think is a big advantage.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'll be curious to see where the San Jose State game lands. I think they're still probably trying to hope for some sort of TV on that, but it's in San Jose. It's just not very athletically pleasing TV watching. Like the camera's just perpetually pointed at the side of the stadium that they ripped out the seats because nobody goes to their games.
Yeah, I remember the last time we were there; it was pretty depressing.
It's pretty sad. So yeah, I don't know. I think that'll be hard pressed to find TV for it, or it'll be probably just streaming or something. I don't know.
But yeah, I would just say we're lucky because I remember the days, and it's the reason why back in the day, sound like an old person now, Dave and Kevin were so popular because you'd be lucky if one Wyoming game was on TV.
Maybe.
A long time, right? And now we're talking, how many years now have Wyoming football, every game has been on TV or the internet for how many years in a row now? A lot.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's just the norm, and it's great to see college football. It's good for Wyoming. It's good for the fans. Bad for the radio because maybe not as many people are listening, but to get to see your team every week, pretty much no matter who they're playing, it's good for everyone.
So correct me on this, and you might know a little bit more about this than me. Back when we were wee little Pokes fans,
Yeah.
did they televise games on K2 at all out of
You
Casper?
know, the only ones I remember that were broadcasted by K2, and some people older might remember. I kind of remember that they would do Hawaii games for some reason.
Nice.
I think maybe I'm crazy. I remember watching the Hawaii games on K2. Starting at like 1 in the morning or whatever.
Yeah, we never really got K2 when I was a kid because we lived way out in rural Thermopolis and we had a satellite and and this was, this isn't like your little dish on the ceiling. This is satellite like 10 feet wide,
Yeah.
manually moving it with your remote control to catch your station. And we could only pick up like the Denver stations. That was like the closest like local stuff we could
Sure.
get. So we never had K2 growing up.
Yeah. So I don't know if Brian's still around. If maybe he remembers that, but I swear K2 did some Hawaii games just because, right? Hawaii's got that weird TV deal where they really didn't have one, and I thought that Wyoming would they would self produce that. Cheyenne never did, as far as I remember, and maybe K2 did a couple other games here and there. Maybe some people with better recollection of the '90s and even going back to the '80s, which I wasn't in Wyoming for. I'd be interesting to see what was going on back then, if there was any type of TV going on. But yeah, as far as I remember, in the '90s, when we were growing up, you would get maybe one ESPN game a year. I remember a couple times we were on ABC when we were really good. But
I
that's
think the
about
WAC
all.
championship was on ABC or something, right?
It was, yes.
Way back then.
Yeah, and I think we played San Diego State on ABC one year. Obviously,
Because
we
of
played
Marshall
Nebraska back in like 94, 95. That was on national TV. But in terms of home games, yeah, it was few and far between we'd get any TV coverage. So I think it's great to have any TV schedule we get is a good one.
Yep. Yeah, we've become pretty spoiled as college football fans in the year 2024, where we get to watch football kind of on our phones in the middle of nowhere or on our iPads or whatever from wherever we happen to be standing. So that's pretty rad.
Okay, so Brian is backing me up here with the Hawaii doing some K2 games. And he also says the Border War and some of the Denver stations would do stuff too. So very interesting. I'm sure we could do the research and find that. Might be give me something to do this summer to kind of delve into that history.
Send an email to Frank Gambino. I'm sure he would remember.
That's sure, yeah. Yeah. So last thing here, we'll talk about just the border war being on a Friday. I think this might be the third or fourth year in a row.
It was definitely Friday night last year.
Yeah, and the year before.
So ridiculous.
So 3 years in a row. Really, I know either school has no say. I think it's bad for everybody all around because you have to take a day off work to get there.
Oh, bummer.
But I know, but some people just can't do that, right?
I know.
But it hasn't really hurt attendance, I guess. Some people, because I complained about this when it first came out, and people said, hey, both schools have had good crowds for that game. It is what it is. I guess, right? They know it's another national game. It's a game that will get some ratings. It's a game that people will care about because it's got, the history being the longest running rivalry west of the Mississippi.
Well, and, by November 15th, the new stadium at Fort Fun will be cleared out anyway because they'll have given up on the season.
That's true.
So
it will be a home game for Wyoming by then.
Yeah, kind of like it was last time, I think.
We can hope that's the case, Brad.
Yes, we can definitely hope that is the case going into November 15th.
Yeah, but a night game November 15th could be cold. But it could be nice. You never know.
I don't know, man. It snowed last night here. Cold is relative.
That's true. Again, that's what happens when you live north of the wall with the wildlings.
Facts.
All right, so there's the TV schedule for you. We'll see. I wouldn't expect anything to be announced, right? I think the rest of these are all going to be all in-season pickups. So we're just counting down to the debut in Tempe, and I think there'll be a fair amount of Wyoming fans down there. Because a lot of them have retired down in the Phoenix area, so should be a good pocket of Pokes fans at Sun Devil Stadium.
Yeah, I'll be in Vegas, so I won't be attending that game.
Are you going to the USC LSU game or whatever? That's in Vegas that weekend, I think.
No, I'm going to the Killers.
Oh, okay.
Totally different.
It is totally different. All right. Let's see. The next thing on our agenda here, Brad, to wrap up the show tonight would be corporate sponsored conference names.
Oh,
Now, I never thought I would see this, but I guess in this day and age where athletic departments and schools need every dime they can get, and it's only going to get worse, right? So in this stage of the transfer portal and NIL, um, schools need money, and it's only going to get worse because I would say probably within the next year, direct pay to play is going to be approved to where schools will be able to pay players directly. And I'm just telling you right now, the big conferences, listen to this number, for all their sports combined, Power Five conferences are starting to get this going. It's going to get passed, I have no doubt. But they're looking at $20 million a year,
per sport?
not for the entire athletic department to pay players in all sports at Power Five schools. So that is a lot of money.
That
And
seems low for a school like Alabama, who dumps in metric shitloads of
sure.
money
And they
just
may be
into their
higher.
athletic facilities.
Yeah. And they may be higher than that. But on average, people are saying Power Five schools are trying to stoke away, figure out how to get $20 million a year to pay players directly. And now you're hearing it first was reported a couple of weeks ago in the Athletic that the Big 12 is about to become, I think, the All-State Big 12 or the All-State Conference.
Yeah, I read something. I've got an article pulled up here about that, and
Sure. So
they don't have any specifics about. Well, they do. They have All-State mentioned here, but it's not done. But they think like early next year.
okay, gotcha. All right. So obviously it's probably too soon for this season, and anybody will. But once one conference does it, the rest are going to follow. I think the ACC is another one, and then of course, a couple days ago, the Athletic reported it as well. It was also reported in a newspaper in Nevada that the Mountain West would be open to selling their name to a corporate sponsor.
So if we're gonna brainstorm real quick,
Yeah, let's do that.
we need like a top five if the Mountain West is going to go down this path, which inevitably they're going to, because
They need money.
the longer they delay this, the further behind they're going to be.
Sure.
And I think Gloria Nevarez seems to be pretty progressive when it comes to finding new sources of revenue. So if the Mountain West were to get ahead of this, what do we think? Who do we think would be the best sponsors for this conference?
This is a good exercise. I like it. So if you are watching on Twitter, you can chime on in. I'll check the mentions. If you're here on YouTube, get into that chat, give us your suggestions, and we'll take them, leave them in the comments too below this video if you're watching the replay.
I vote that we give Warren Buffett a honorary doctorate from whatever Mountain West University he chooses, and we get him to be our sugar daddy.
So what, we're talking like the Omaha Mutual Conference?
No, just the Warren Buffett conference.
Or was it Berkshire?
Berkshire Hathaway.
Yeah, Berkshire Hathaway Conference.
No, I think we just call it Warren Buffett's conference.
Warren Buffett Conference.
Yeah, just
the Buffett Conference. Sure.
I mean, yeah, just give him an honorary doctorate. Don't give him one from Boise. I don't know if they offer doctorate degrees, but
he's not going to spend money on that. He's too smart.
Yeah, I know that's a problem too. And if you're thinking about it, a lot of these companies that, like, if you're looking at Allstate, their money is far better spent than anything but college football naming rights.
Well,
here they are going to do it.
That's true.
It's not bad enough they have their logo on every
goal
post out there.
Yeah.
in the world. It seems like.
Yeah, I could see Dr. Pepper like doing the ACC or something too, right?
Don't they already sponsor the ACC championship?
I think they do. Yeah. So that would make. But for the Mountain West, you know what pops in my mind? And watch, I'll show this. I didn't even
Oh,
see this. I joked about this on Twitter.
you came with the notes.
Let me bring this up here. But I joked that when this came up, I said, "Coming soon, the Old Trapper Conference." And sure enough, look at this. I didn't know this. When I scrolled down the other day to look at the Mountain West title championship game is the Old Trapper Mountain West Football Championship. So there we go. That is my leader in the clubhouse. How about the Old Trapper Conference?
You know, it's funny because when you pulled that up, or when you mentioned that on Twitter, and then I pulled up the Wyoming schedule earlier, I was like, that's probably where he got that from.
No, I didn't see it. I swear. I just know that when you watch the games online or on CBS, you're always going to see the Old Trapper commercial. Every time. So I said, hey, that makes sense. So I think they're the lead. If I had a vote, now, do they have enough money for it? I would doubt it.
I don't know. Have you bought jerky at a gas station? It's like $20 a bag.
It is. I know, and that's why I don't buy it. I've never had in a bag.
And that was before inflation. That was 5 years ago prices.
Yeah, I think if they sponsor the Mountain West, it's going to be $40 a bag to get some Old Trapper jerky.
Yeah.
All right, so we got Old Trapper.
I was just I was trying to do a quick Google search here of the biggest companies based in Mountain Time.
Okay, yeah. But Frontier Airlines, is that one of them?
Oh, Frontier needs to spend money on their airplanes.
Yeah, they probably should. I agree.
There's a reason those flights are they're so cheap, and it's because their airplanes may fall apart mid-flight.
No, that's Boeing.
Those can also go hand in hand.
Yes.
But Boeing is based in Pacific Time, where we do have schools located.
True.
But I think Boeing's already a big sponsor of Washington Athletics. So.
All right, you have your list? You find a good list of mountain?
No, I'm literally coming up with this on the fly.
Okay. I thought you came up with a list.
No.
Okay.
That would have been planning ahead.
Oh, well, I thought maybe you were searching for one right now.
Well, I was trying to, but
yeah, do it, and I'll talk. So yeah, I saw another article I saw out there. It was just like coming up with the best conference sponsors for each conference, and somebody mentioned that Apple would be interested in sponsoring the Mountain West. I think no chance in hell would that ever happen. But how about the Apple conference?
The thing that would be interesting about that is if Apple could somehow license some TV rights.
And they could, right? They're doing Apple has the contract for Major League Soccer. Apple's doing that Major League game of the week, I think, on Friday nights. You can do Apple. And they're pretty good. The Apple broadcaster, I haven't watched the soccer one, but their baseball broadcast is very good.
Yeah,
Brian chimes in.
I've never even heard of
Vertifor? I don't know who Vertifor is.
They're in your town, Chad.
He says Microsoft, the Microsoft conference. Maybe, I don't know.
Yeah,
maybe if like Washington and Washington State join, or not Washington. Washington's already in the Big Ten.
Yeah, I was going to say Washington State joins pretty deep in the UW pockets, but the other
Amazon. Well, maybe we just get Amazon. We could be the Amazon League. I don't know. Clint's in the house.
You got to.
Welcome on, Clint. He says, I legit had to Google to see if I could stream the CW. Would love Apple. Maybe we could get the Mountain back on there. Oh.
I wonder, like, you'd have to think that, like, Ford would be in the mix.
Maybe that's kind of rough, right? Yeah, rough. Sell some trucks. The Ford conference. I like it.
Like, there's probably, like, a whole working group in Idaho right now, just like, I wonder if we can get Simplot to sponsor this.
Simplot. Ooh. Probably not, but I like that.
Or
I don't know. Someone will have time to think about this, and people will have some good suggestions once they watch the video. We'll post it to Twitter as a question as well. Kind of see what people can come up with, but it's coming, and I'd imagine probably Maybe not next year for the Mountain West, but maybe the season after. We'll see how quickly some of this gets tied up. If you're saying the Big 12 it won't happen until maybe early next year,
End of 2024, quarter 1 2025.
yeah. So the teams they'll want to do it, I think, in quarter one, so then they can maybe tag on to the basketball conference endings. I don't know if they would change the name midstream.
No, I
They'd
would
have to wait,
expect
I
it.
think, for legal reasons.
I would expect that like 2025 is probably when this is real. You're really going to
Yeah,
start seeing some of this stuff
we'll see.
start to take shape out there.
Yeah, and to piggy on top of this, I'm sure you also saw that for the first time ever, they're going to allow corporate logos on the field, which I think we'll definitely see at Wyoming this year. I know we're already called Jonah Field, which is not a company, but didn't was it the mining industry who sponsored that, or was that the McMurrays or somebody? I get confused. Someone donated money to get it called Jonah Field to raise awareness, to all the work they do at the Jonah Field. Brian says, yeah, fiscal year starting July, and that's pretty much the case at all universities.
I would bet 2025 is
So
when
yeah, probably July 25. You're going to see some mayhem with every conference probably getting a sponsor, except for maybe the SEC and the Big Ten. They'll probably be the last two to do it.
Clint makes a good point. I wonder if like Marathon would be a player.
Yeah, so oil and gas, yeah, maybe. I don't know. They're kind of going through tough times too these days. So, but I think we'll see some with the Jonah Field theme. I think we will see some oil and gas companies logos on the field this fall in Laramie for a little chunk of change.
Mm-hmm. Maybe Oregon State can like put a good word in with Uncle Phil over in Oregon and get us some Nike sponsor.
Oh, well, we know Oregon's going to have Nike swooshes all over their field. I'm surprised they'll probably just put a giant Nike swoosh in the mid. It'll go from like the 20-yard line to the 20-yard line. It'll be just one giant swoosh.
Get rid of the O at the midfield.
Yeah, and just put a swoosh there. Don't laugh.
Maybe Oregon State can bring some of that with them too.
I bet that happens.
Jeez.
So yeah, a lot of changes. So we'll see, and they'll have to wait to the very last minute to do that because otherwise, too many people go to stadiums and too many people are looking at aerial photography. They'll leak out pretty quick. Mm-hmm. So I think a lot of these logos you won't see pop up until like the day before the game, and they'll probably cover them up too with like sheets and stuff. It's going to be pretty funny.
Speaking of stadium, have you seen the latest pictures from the war?
Sure, the stadium is looking great over there.
I tell you, construction has really come a long ways where they can just, plop and replace these Lego sets, for stadium seats and, put them in place. And that took like a week, I think, to put the whole lower section in of seating.
Looks great.
Yeah.
And then I think that was it announced this week? I think it was where the McMurrays are given another $3.5 million to finish the entire project, which is going to include after this season, they're going to put in, some better seating options, kind of like club level type of seats.
Mm-hmm.
And
the swimming complex
and the swimming pool, which they've been trying to finish for a long time. They've been trying to ever since I was working at the foundation for the university. They've been trying to upgrade the pool there at Corbett. Mm-hmm. And then what's the other thing? And then I don't know when the press box is into that mix, but the press box is
phase 2, right? Because they're going to.
I think it's part of the. I think it's part of the clubs. Yeah, I hope maybe phase 3 if there is a phase 3. I might be making that up, but so a lot of changes coming. Wyoming got a great donation. Again, if it wasn't for the McMurrays, I don't know where the university would be.
Yeah, that's they've been a good partner with UW, that's for sure. Well, I think I was reading something last week too that they built like a huge a sports complex in Casper too.
Okay, wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah, like a huge like sports complex out there. So putting money out there everywhere.
Sure. So, all right. So I think that's all I had for tonight. Some good stuff there at the end from Brad.
So if you
But
wanted to touch on it, Sundance signed two more players tonight, or it was announced tonight that he
they
signed two
announced,
more
yeah.
players.
No, I think that deserves its own show. And I know Brian was in here earlier. He is the basketball expert out of
Oh yeah,
us here. So I think we'll try to get Brian on here in the next week or two, and we'll break down all the new players now that the roster's set that Wyoming
top
brought in.
players.
So we'll get in touch with Brian and we'll get that scheduled. That'll be a fun conversation because there's like 9 players to go over, 9
Yeah,
new transfers. So we'll
these
break down
transfers
that.
from Holy Cross in Western Kentucky.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
I
So
think, do we have a pipeline to Holy Cross now?
maybe we got a football player out of there, right? A Sears
Yep.
was from there.
Yep.
Maybe
was from there.
the
So
Holy Cross to Wyoming Express.
yeah,
I like
couldn't
it.
be any different colleges, but yeah.
No. Very true. So, all right, folks. Yeah, we just wanted to hop on. We'll try to get some more content going out this summer. We have a lot of ideas. We just need time to execute them. We'll try to get some interviews set up for the summer. We'll talk some basketball. As football gets closer, we'll kind of break down what we're hearing. We'll break down some positions, which will be fun because I think there's a lot of positions up for grabs on the football team this year. A lot of playing time to be divvied out. And just listening to some things, I think they really have like one open scholarship. I don't know if anybody listened to the great interview that Thorburn did with Jay Savelle. I would listen to that if you haven't. I can't imagine 1,000 years Craig Bowl sitting down talking to someone for 30 minutes like
On a
that
podcast.
on a podcast. Yeah, it was great. And Bowl's done some now that he's retired, but not as the coach. So some really good insight there. And it sounds like Wyoming has one scholarship available, and they're kind of poking around for somebody who might be a good fit. And
what a cool asset that's been, having Ryan move from the Casper Star into UW internally and get some content out there. His podcast has been really good, the episodes I've listened to.
Sure, 100%. Yeah, and we'll talk about that too this summer. Got some thoughts on that. So yeah, so I hope everybody's having a great summer now that's actually arrived, except for the people up in, I guess, Montana and northern Wyoming where it's snowing right now.
But it is, almost 9 o'clock at night, and we still have like an hour of sun left. So
that's true. It's very true. So, all right, folks. Well, thank you for tuning in. We will be back soon, and I think our next episode more than likely will be breaking down some of these basketball transfers. I've been digging deep into them. I'm learning a lot about the analytics of basketball, let's just say. Yeah, it's very interesting. So we will be back soon. Enjoy the rest of your week, and we'll see you later from WyoNation.com.